alternative.
Hey, you want a hit?
No an alternative.
No an alternative.
The fundamental purpose, animating the faith of God and His religion, is to safeguard the interests and promote the unity of the human race, and to foster the spirit of love and fellowship amongst men.
Some of the changes that I've seen in myself has been like a greater sense of like responsibility for the things that we're doing in the community. It's a priority for me to keep working towards that, no matter where I'm at in my life. That's led me to making decisions to stay here, going into college, and doing a lot of reflection of like, how can I take my career into also having that be service.
Attending holy days and spaces and participating in core activities has allowed me to really take charge of shaping my spiritual identity. Once you have this desire to be of service to others, that at the center allows you to reach great lengths in everything that you do in life. It's as if that one thing in the center shapes and influences everything that you do.
We began to start seeing that young people in particular began to start thinking differently and living a very different lifestyle because they were now engaged in interacting with the Word of God in a very intense way.
When I was reading some of the writings of Baha'u'llah, I realized that it was helping me transform for the better. If I want to make sure that things are better for myself and for my family, I want to make sure that the community grows as well.
Yo acabo de empezar a estudiar lo que es el libro 1. De la manera que llegamos aquí fue que mi hija se integró a un grupo. Yo me interesé en ver lo que ella hacía. Lo que más me empezó a interesar fue la manera en que ella empezó a orar con sus amigos. Quiero aprender a tener esa conexión que yo vi que ella lograba tener.
Tan hermoso podernos acercar a Dios por medio de la oración. Todo eso, todas las enseñanzas de Baha'u'llah nos están ayudando a crecer espiritualmente. Vemos diferencia no solo en nuestros hijos, sino ya en nosotros mismos también estamos cambiando, estamos avanzando espiritualmente.
Us being involved as the youth has drawn in entire families to then be engaged with each other. We see how much love can come out of building relationships, transcending cultural barriers, language barriers.
I think as we grow older and we meet other people and form our families is this idea of how can we serve together and be a part of this community and help it grow and also have others help us.
The Assembly has wanted to consciously cultivate a relationship with the youth and to talk with them about what their goals are in life, what they're thinking of for their future, for education, how this fits in with service and having this cohesive life. So this idea of developing a relationship with the institution itself is a goal, is a hope, and is something that's being worked toward.
Due to many efforts of the youth, we were able to have the junior youth program in a middle school. And then we could have a junior youth group for each grade level.
I teach 8th grade science, and I think that the program should be in the classroom, and I've actually talked to one of our main leaders about bringing this program into the classroom. I think it's the school's jobs, the teachers' jobs, the parents' jobs, the neighborhood's jobs, the society's jobs to help build these kids up, because the program really does enhance their natural qualities, their natural positive qualities.
We've learned that really engaging young people opens the way for then an entire community to begin to move, to take ownership.
A natural outcome of the rise both in resources and in consciousness of the implications of the revelation for the life of a population is the stirrings of social action.
Quand la population commence à voir comment elle-même peut se prendre en charge du point de vue, se développer du point de vue spirituel, du point de vue social, du point de vue intellectuel, nous allons amener une véritable compréhension sur le développement communautaire, où on intègre tous les aspects de la vie, puisque les enseignements de la foi concernent tous les aspects de la vie, aussi bien l'aspect spirituel, l'aspect social, l'aspect intellectuel. Et voilà, dans ce contexte-là, on commence à voir le mouvement de la population vers Baha'u'llah.
We use the term social action to describe a spectrum of activities which have the distinct purpose of the application of one or another of Baha'u'llah's teachings to the advancements of the social, the material life of a population. There's various types of socioeconomic development efforts, from very simple, small scale, all the way up to more complex and sophisticated activities. One of the most prominent examples are from junior youth groups, where groups of young people are studying certain materials and they look around their community and they see, well, what can we do to carry out some concrete actions to help our community to advance?
किशोर र एनिमेटरलाई समुदायको वास्तविकताको बारेमा पढ्नको लागि उनीहरूको क्षमता बढाइरहेको छ। हाम्रो समुदाय कस्तो छ, समुदायमा के समस्याहरू छन्, त्यसलाई कसरी सल्भ गर्ने छलफल गर्छन् र धेरै व्यावहारिक सेवा परियोजनाहरू पनि उनीहरूले र त्यसको प्रत्यक्ष प्रभाव हामी समुदायमा देख्न सक्छौँ।
समुदायमा पनि किशोर क्लास सञ्चालन गर्छु। हामीलाई सेवा गर्न एकदमै मन पर्छ र 8 जना पानी लगाउन आएका छौँ।
मलाई भगवान बाहुल्लाले दिनुभएको यो उदाहरण चाहिँ एकदमै राम्रो लाग्छ, जुन चाहिँ स्वच्छ र असल कर्महरू, प्रशंसनीय उचित चरित्रद्वारा यो संसारको उन्नति हासिल गर्न सकिन्छ। जब म काम गर्छु, सेवा कार्य गर्छु, यो कोटेसन मलाई झलझल याद आउँदाखेरि चाहिँ झन् सेवा गरौँ, झन् राम्रो गरौँ भनेर चाहिँ
Aici noi facem fapte bune pentru a ajuta
vecinii și locatarii să vadă ce frumos este în curtea noastră. Pentru mine un proiect de servire este un proiect unde ajută nu doar 2-3, dar toată lumea din jur. Proiectul acesta ne ajută să lucrăm în echipe și în grup, prietenii noștri care avem și care vom avea.
So in smaller settings of villages and neighborhoods, we can really observe how both material and spiritual progress advance in the context of the community building efforts. Among the responses that communities make to the different needs that they see, some of these efforts become more sustained.
Tam ta awareness, sara mal awareness, kan me carry importance ta self support jaga, ta no la save la marine resource. Manis minda mol pas, ia ron pas, kan ni kaya artang pen naik lan wana mai mo thobwa. La na naik na mir mo hiwan ke, yaro ke, in yemesai pa au panikin mo.
Over time, some of these sustained efforts become more complex, and as insights are gained, the Baha'i-inspired organization is established.
At the center of the growth process that has taken place in the Bahai cluster is the building of capacity in the individuals. And this capacity has been built principally by the Institute. Another instrument that was used was the Preparation for Social Action program, which is commonly known as PSA. The program was introduced into the Bahai cluster by the Emergence Foundation, which is a Baha'i-inspired organization.
L'implémentation du programme de préparation pour l'action sociale a vraiment aidé à développer la capacité intellectuelle des adultes de la région.
Le programme a été créé autour du concept de capacité, c'est-à-dire que développer la capacité de penser et d'agir dans un contexte donné pour un but bien précis. Pour avancer, il est nécessaire d'acquérir la connaissance.
So it consists in learning about the scientific way of things, be it language, capability, mathematical capability, scientific capability, and processes of community well-being.
On se dit que si cette capacité est renforcée, vraiment on pourra générer des connaissances nouvelles, d'enrichir le processus de développement et de croissance dans les
In Bahai cluster, we have had about 700 persons that have been trained as promoters of community well-being. The term promoter of community well-being is used to identify people who have been exposed to the PSA.
Le programme de préparation pour l'action sociale a beaucoup aidé la communauté à réaliser, à prendre conscience de ce potentiel qui existe dans la communauté. C'est ainsi que petit à petit, on commence à voir émerger des programmes d'action sociale qui sont totalement initiés par les amis et dont ils éprouvent eux-mêmes le propre leadership.
I remember, at the earlier stages, people will ask, when we finish the PSA, what are we going to do? So we limited our understanding in what they will be able to do, and we were not thinking about what they will become. So when we finished the first sequence in 2011, we realized that those who finish, they become useful promoters of every action that was taking place in the community and an agent for the advancement of civilization.
En el norte del Cauca, el acceso a la educación ha sido un gran problema debido a la situación económica y también a todos los obstáculos que las personas tienen para acceder a ella.
Les tocaba también desplazarse a otros lugares y no había como una base principal ahí para poder acceder a la educación. El programa de apoyo a líderes nació con el deseo de responder a la necesidad de la educación como un punto clave para el desarrollo tanto social y económico de nuestra población.
Gracias al programa, un gran número de estos jóvenes pueden ir a la universidad a través de un programa técnico, tecnológico o profesional.
El programa de apoyo a líderes comunitarios tiene una duración de 4 años. Los participantes vienen a una serie de seminarios en las que ellos desarrollan ciertas capacidades. Una de esas capacidades es la de poder desarrollar un discurso con el cual van a conversar con sus amigos en la universidad, con las personas de su comunidad, acerca de temas, por ejemplo, la armonía entre ciencia y religión, de qué manera el ambiente mediático influye en nosotros.
Uno de los materiales que se usan es de los materiales de la preparación para la acción social y algunos otros materiales también que son bastante importantes pues, para crear esa capacidad colectiva en las personas. Estos materiales fueron desarrollados principalmente por los esfuerzos de una organización de inspiración Bahai llamada Fundae, también conocida como Fundación para la Aplicación y Enseñanza de las Ciencias, que fue creada hace muchos años con el fin de responder a la necesidad educativa que existía en la región del norte del Cauca.
El programa de apoyo a líderes comunitarios ayuda a entender eso, que es necesario servir a su comunidad, pero también cada cosa que uno haga, esforzarse por hacerla con excelencia, de una manera que pueda hacer que su comunidad pueda avanzar.
El programa busca desarrollar en los jóvenes la capacidad de leer constantemente la realidad de su región para poder identificar los desafíos que hay y aportar a la solución de acuerdo a sus talentos y capacidades. Les ayuda a formar un marco conceptual que les ayuda a sopesar toda la información que ellos reciben de acuerdo al camino laboral que han escogido.
La educación que ellos reciben en la universidad solamente hace parte de lo que nosotros llamamos educación. Otro de los componentes es el de servicio. Es por esta razón que cada uno, todos los participantes del programa, se les anima en una actividad de servicio específica.
Gracias al programa de apoyo a líderes comunitarios en el norte del departamento del Cauca, se ha generado todo un movimiento donde jóvenes con mucho entusiasmo están trabajando para generar el cambio que la región necesita. Y naturalmente ese cambio se ve reflejado en sus vidas.
Over a decade ago, as the institute process in Vancouver started to grow in strength, a small group of friends were trying to learn to apply the institute process with a specific population of newcomers to Canada. And the first need that was identified was the ability to communicate in English. So we started a simple English class. We called it English Corner. So over time, we learned that the issue, it wasn't the need to master language and grammar, but that there was a yearning for newcomers to be part of a group of friends that was in constant dialogue about the well-being of their community. And materials were developed. Simple questions and quotes related to themes relevant to the community. We would draw on quotes from the Revelation of Baha'u'llah. So we had groups slowly building this capacity to reflect on their current state and then take simple steps forward. Start thinking about how Baha'u'llah's teachings really affect both the material and spiritual well-being of a population.
When you first immigrated to a new country, you are homesick. This is a new place, new culture, new language. You're a new member, you want to belong to this culture, to this community. Baha'i teaching says that we want to create a better world. And this is a place where you can try to sense that. That's the core value, I think, in English Corner. You will learn your English and you will get to know more friends. And then together you create a small community.
We have about 30 English corners in the area with hundreds of participants. So actually we registered a non-profit organization, and now it has a board of directors that helps guide the process. What began as an English class over time has grown in its scope and complexity, where now we have these groups that are building community as they learn to consult together, to reflect together, and in light of the teachings of Baha'u'llah, to think of the next practical steps to build community in their area.
Do you believe in God? Are you one that can say there is a God? You are one of 7 billion people who live on God's creation. In the Bible it says, you are all one in Jesus Christ. Islam teaches everyone is born equal and will die equal. A Jewish concept states all people stem from the same mold and have the same ancestry. All are therefore equal. Buddhists believe that there is no fundamental difference between any human. Hinduism also advances the concept of the equality of all mankind. No one is superior, none inferior. May all beings experience prosperity. May no one in the world suffer. Baha'u'llah wrote, know ye not why we created you all from the same dust, that no one should exalt himself over the other. So that would mean, through the eyes of God, these two souls are equal. So, do you really believe in God?
Well, that's an interesting story. I wasn't born into a Baha'i family. I come from a very Irish Catholic family, and I was the one in the family to be the priest, they thought. I could say the whole Mass in Latin, etc. All my education was in Catholic schools, and I'm very proud of that background, by the way. Okay? Becoming a Baha'i does not mean you reject your past. It's going forward, the same as the Christians added to Judaism. They didn't reject it. I was taking a course in London, and the professor was Baha'i. I'd never heard of it. I thought it was B'nai B'rith, which is a Jewish men's organization. They're nice people, so I went to his house after the course was over, and he had what we call firesides. Now, in the Baha'i faith, we don't have clergy. It's one of the things that the founder of the Baha'i faith, Baha'u'llah, changed. Okay, he paid respect to the clergy of the past, but he said in this age, people need to exercise independent investigation of truth. So I learned what we used to call the 12 principles. Independent investigation of truth, the oneness of God, the oneness of religion. God is not in competition with himself. If you look at the various religions, they teach much the same according to the capacity of the age. Okay, I used to teach, by the way, world religions, and so I was intrigued with what we call the social teachings, the 12 principles. One of which is the harmony of science and religion, which says that if religion teaches something contrary to science, it's a superstition. Now, but I was not looking at the figure of Baha'u'llah. Now remember, I'm a Christian and of the Catholic persuasion, the largest denomination in Christianity. And so the professor said to me once, he said, so what do you think of Baha'u'llah? And I was really disturbed. I was really disturbed by the question. Because, and later on I understood why, but you have to, here I am sitting in 2,000-year-old slippers, very comfortable. I knew all the traditions, as I say, could say the Mass, and I was an altar boy, etc., etc. And to entertain the question of Baha'u'llah suggests change, and a lot of people fear change. They would prefer the status quo. There's a modern play, it's called Streetcar Named Desire, at the end of which Blanche says, I can't afford to believe that. And what she meant was that if she affords to believe, if she allows herself to accept the truth, her whole world will change. Now, it's not like that in terms of the new revelations that we receive. What we fear is absolutely irrational, okay? God would not send something to us that is going to have a negative effect, okay? All revealed religions come from the same source, and they are designed for two primary reasons. One, the transformation of the individual and the transformation of the society. And every messenger has been successful in his mission, although the mission has changed throughout the ages. So I then, after he asked me the question, I started to read a little bit more about the life of Baha'u'llah, the sufferings, his early childhood. He didn't go to school, he had no formal education, and yet from a very early age, just like Christ, he was seen to be extraordinary, seen to be very different, okay? He had this kind of innate knowledge. Remember Christ talking to the Jewish elders in the temple at the age of 12. Well, same thing with Baha'u'llah. At the age of 8, okay, they realized, his teachers, that they couldn't teach him. Okay, they just couldn't teach him. Now, Baha'u'llah is preceded by another figure known as the Bab. The Bab means the gate. Jesus said, I shall come by way of the gate. To Baha'is, Baha'u'llah is the return of Christ. And I can remember leaning forward on a couch in London some 40 years ago and saying, are you saying that Christ has returned? And the professor said, yes. And I said, oh. It was an astounding claim, okay? And it is an astounding claim, but this is the clear claim of Baha'u'llah. And if we are seekers of truth, if, for example, I as a Christian consider myself loyal to Christ and his covenant, then that includes investigating him on his return, accepting him on his return. Baha'u'llah does not expect, and actually is quite against, blind faith. We are supposed to investigate, but we need to be fair in our judgment. Because he says very clearly, the evidence is there, the proof is there. Okay? If you look at it carefully, and now I'm making this statement as a Baha'i today, it is overwhelmingly obvious. I became a Baha'i in London some 42 years ago, and that was just the beginning, as they say. Okay? No one comes to a point of knowing everything. No one's spiritual journey is over on this plane of existence until we take the great adventure. So that's how I became a Baha'i. I was the first one in my family, and you know, Baha'is come from every background you can imagine. It's the most widespread faith in the world. People come from atheism to the Baha'i faith. They also come with all kinds of hang-ups, all kinds of problems. But the purpose of faith is to heal, is to educate, is to ennoble. And in the last statement I'll make is the Baha'i faith is about, according to Shoghi Effendi, the material, the social, the intellectual, and the spiritual regeneration of humanity. The spiritual being at the top is what will influence the others.